So, our friendship in the show very much mirrors our own in real life. But how did we even create the Mindy Emily, the
I
Memily,
know, the memolate.
the
I
Memily?
think it's so funny thinking back on when we first met that table read and like the fact that there's like photo evidence of us like meeting for the first time and like falling in love. It was like truly like a meeting of like soulmates in a sense, I feel like. And I remember as we were shooting, you and I just kept saying like, I feel like this is just real life and they're just happening to tape it. Like, are we rolling? Like, why aren't they rolling now? It just clicked.
How many times were we like just talking amongst ourselves and people thought we were running lines, or we were running lines and people kept on trying to talk to us, but like,
Oh, that happened all the time.
and we were like, no, we got it.
Yeah,
Like,
and people thought that we knew each other before, which was I love because it just is like a testament to how much we connected. There's obviously the comparisons that come to mind, whether it's with Gossip Girl or Sex and the City, but I think that we were very like adamant that it be Emily and Mindy, like not another version of something, but just they have their own type of relationship. I haven't seen a character meet another character in the way that we did, and that our roles in Paris were very specific. I mean, we weren't like in high school together, it's very different.
and they both go into it not trying to find a friend, and then realizing when they meet each other, it was kind of like, I didn't even realize this part of my heart was like empty until I realized exactly how I could fill it. And it's one of those like friendships that are lifelong. And
Yeah.
I think we said this, I think we watched like an episode or two together a while ago and thought, wait, this is such a relatable friendship, but is it just because it's us?
I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, is anyone else going to find that this is relatable, or is it literally because I'm sitting next to you right now and we've had that conversation?
It's so funny because in real life, sometimes you would be Mindy for me, and we would always be like being each other's therapists and cheerleaders. And I just love seeing a friendship too. And the reason I know that it's so genuine is because it's very much how we are, of just like full support, and just like, I'll tell you when you're wrong, but I'll support you when you're right or wrong, all of that.
So we both, as Mindy and Emily and Lily and Ashley, play each other's therapists in a sense.
Yeah.
What do you think the key is to both of our characters' perseverance? Like, we're both thrown these situations, whether it's with our family, with our career, and we both find really amazing ways to pivot and to kind of overcome them. And so, yeah, what would you say is Mindy's key to that perseverance?
Well, I think what I was so thrilled about in watching it again, because we knew the plot, and you'd filmed every single day, but for me, not having watched how some of it came to fruition, I just love how smart Emily is, and I love how smart both girls are. And I think in real life too, something that we've talked about in ourselves is, I don't think it's not even just that we have a positive outlook, but we never really think of things that come our way as problems it's immediately to how can we find a solution. And we see every episode, and we see, I feel like Mindy's approach, especially about personal stuff too, is very much, she leads with humor, because humor is a way to break down walls and make other people comfortable. And I really love that about her. And I try to implement that in my own life. And I just think that their perseverance come from like their smarts, and also growing up in the world that we are in now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of the same for Emily. Like, the idea of not really seeing a problem as a finite problem, but as like a Kickstarter to a solution, like you said. And, whether it's no hot water, or it's a problem at work, or it's something romantically, it's like, she just has to keep pivoting. And, we didn't know that the show would come out at a time when the world is pivoting. We're all trying to figure out new ways of handling our everyday lives and the nuances of that. And so I think it's really inspiring to see two women overcoming obstacles, and not seeing them as these like finite problems, but working through them and like leaning on support with one another. And asking for help isn't a weakness, it's a strength. And leaning on our friends now more than ever is the way to feel less alone and to kind of get through what we're all going through as a as a human race, you know? And so I just think like it's really inspiring more now than ever to see that kind of relationship and friendship.
Liz, why are you so excited for especially young women to be watching this show and like Emily's adventures and her journey throughout this season?
Well, for me, one of the things I loved most about Emily from reading the pilot and then the subsequent episodes is that there's not this transformation scene, you know, where she goes into a dressing room as Emily from America and comes out Emily in Paris and is all of a sudden like acceptable, you know, and embraced by her coworkers or her new friends. She is innately who she is, and she's bold and bright and a little bit obvious and optimistic. And I think it's really important to acknowledge the idea of not having to change who you are in order to be understood or embraced. And that is something that resonated really strongly with me. I think will resonate really strongly with girls, women, boys, men. I think everyone's got a little bit of that Emily in them in that sense, to see two young women going through it. And like I said before, leaning on each other to do so is really special, because now more than ever, like you and I have had conversations about like identity crisis within the last couple months of just being like, what makes me tick? What do I want to do? What are my priorities? And I think when we share those things with one another and we share our emotions and our experiences, even if they're not exactly the same, we acknowledge the fact that we're never alone. And that's what Emily and Mindy have, is the reciprocal relationship of reminding each other that they're never alone.
Yeah. Oh my God, Lily.